All right, taking the opportunity to stick with the pre-made hammer, because these are things you would kind of do after you got most of this, settled. I'm talking about two different tools though this time because they work kind of hand in hand, and I have to twirl down this mesh thing right here. One of the things we eventually do is smooth stuff in here. So you can see, especially on this one, the faceting that happens because there's a limited amount of polygons going around. This one you can see it a bit too. You can also see it at the bottom here. There's no round curves to anything. That doesn't exist. Um, so we have to smooth things. Smoothing will basically quadruple the number of, if the simplest amount of smoothing will quadruple the number of quads because it'll take these two vertical ones, edges here, like this and this, split it in half this way, and then it'll also take these two edges here and split it in half this way. If you do that on something that has an area to it, everything is doubled, so it's 4 times the number of polygons. And that means you automatically get enough resolution that the model looks smooth. Instead of looking faceted and pretending it's round, it'll actually start to look round. There will technically be no curves. You can see that this looks mostly round, except for that one little seam, because it's a smaller area. And with the same number of polygons, that's enough to get in there. Now, the reason we do smoothing is because you model with the lower res, in part because it works faster, and in part because it's just easier. You can't model too high res a thing. But to smooth, we actually just click the smooth button. We do that. Now, don't go too much further with this on because we're not done modeling yet. This is just to look at it and see, oh, how does it look? The answer is it got kind of bubbly. If we undo that, I'm going to duplicate this little guy right here. There we go. So we can compare notes on what happens when we smooth it, which is it's not great. We lost the crease that was there. We really lost the crease that was there. This all looks like it's made of silly putty. It's like a silly putty version of it. And what happens is, if we compare notes on this, there's one edge loop that holds this neck straight, and then it branches out to the rest of the head. Well, what happened when we smoothed it? Well, it took away that one edge loop and gave me these two others and averaged between them. That's not great. And it did that in part because there's just no other resolution in the neck here. So the way it thinks about it isn't how you and I think about it. I lost the crease here. This stayed okay because I had that extra edge loop there. This I lost a lot. So we're going to undo. We need a way to add definition to things. And technically, yes, you could go to tools and insert edge loop and add a whole bunch of edge loops around. No, that's tedious and we don't want to do that. It is kind of what I did here at this corner, but in this case I would actually get rid of it and fix it a different way. And we're going to do what's called beveling. So I'm going to get rid of this extra edge loop here. It was fine for when I was modeling, but no, I need to, finish this. If I want to make sure this crease holds, I need extra resolution around the inside and the outside. That's key. I have two creases right here. 1 and 2. So I double click the inside one, and I get all up in this business. You gotta get really close to see this. And I say bevel. Now, don't click on anything else, because technically this is still selected. And these options are live. So I tend to like to keep my original edge loop. If we look at segments, it says 3. That means this face, and that face. But it means that there's 4 edge loops. So it got rid of my middle original edge loop. So I'm going to bring this down to 2. There we go. So now my original edge loop is there. But also, you see how it's rounded? You kind of can't tell, but it is. There we go. It's that corner got rounded. Turn chamfer off. Now it's not rounded. And if I want these edge loops to be even closer, I can turn down the fraction. put them real tight. Be like, I want this to be a sharp edge. Right? So fraction is how far apart the new edge loops are from the original. Segments is how many you have. If you have an even number, you keep the original edge loop, and then things expand out evenly from there. And if I turn chamfer on and off, rounded, not rounded. I'm going to do the same thing for this edge. I say bevel. I'm going to turn this down to 2 maybe. We'll see. I'm going to leave chamfer on though. This is if we imagine what this part of the hammer is, it's like this is rubber part. This is metal coming out of the rubber. So that's why I want it to be very sharp. This I can keep rounded. I don't think, yeah, see that difference? I don't want that to be poking out like it's a sharp edge. It's not. It's rubber, but I just want it, I don't want it to lose resolution when I go to you know, smooth it. Now, once we click off somewhere else and select other things, you lose that live bit. You can, if you click off and right away you're like, oh no, oh my god, attribute editor, poly bevel 2 is that last one I did, and I can change these settings. So I can go to chamfer, off, on, off, on. Now, the closer this is to your shape node, the more likely it is to work. But you can see everything I ever did to this is a tab in here. All of that history is still in here. But don't think you can go back 17 different tabs and it's going to work. It may not. I'm not even sure if this bevel would work out very well if I change things. It is. It's not entirely surprising because the other thing I did was just a bevel and it didn't interfere with this one. But if I like inserted an edge loop this direction, forget it, right? Because that new thing that I do would be interfering with the old thing. So that's kind of key as to whether or not you would be able to change any of these. If I insert an edge loop that crosses a bevel, I probably can't go in here and change that bevel anymore. So you need to pay attention to how close these are to the shape node, because the shape node is like the last thing in there. Alright, so now if I go into object mode, and I go to my modeling toolkit, I'm going to smooth both of these. You can see how the definition held on this one better than this one. This one, I didn't add that extra stuff. And so you can still see the crease where this comes in. And you can see it adds up a lot of edge loops, but that's okay. That's kind of the point. A place where this would really come in handy is this right here. This needs a bevel like real bad. We saw it earlier. Chamfer off for sure. I did. That's weird. It says 3 segments, but I'm pretty sure that's not 3 segments. Interesting. This should hold it a little bit better. So now when I go to here and I say smooth, whoa, look at the difference there. It's a little bit too rounded for my taste, but at least it's still the same shape. Look at this, right? So it doesn't take much with the bevels to help hold the shape on something. I mean, the more you use it, the better you'll get at getting the settings you want and getting them to do the thing you want. And you'd be surprised where they'll be necessary. I mean, I'm losing definition down here because this doesn't have enough. So maybe I do a bevel with just 2 segments. They can be close together. I just need something to hold this here. Nope. There we go. I still have the chamfer on because I don't want it to be a sharp edge. And now when I go to smooth these, there you go. Now it does look different than we're used to. Nothing you do is going to stay the same once you smooth it. So like, don't get married to what it looks like. Don't be so beholden to what it looks like. But at least now I've still got that sort of that definition of it's being out there, as opposed to this, which I don't have any of that. And so you have to pick and choose where you're going to bevel. But it is a pretty simple thing, and it pretty easily gets you the definition that you need to hold the shape better. All right, and smoothing, it's not a one-way street. I mean, I can smooth something and say, oh no, undo. Um, but it's, don't smooth it and then do 15 other things and then go, oh, I wish I hadn't smoothed it. That's not going to work out for you. So it is a sort of a semi, sometimes one-way street, right? So make sure that you smooth it to test it and then put it back, and make sure it's back where it was in its low res version, and before you continue on with your modeling.